this important session on women's leadership and challenges of COVID-19. We are hosting during the conference, which is called as Global Unconference, which is themed around how the co-creating of future stories of hope and action. Ladies and gentlemen, a bit of introduction about the conference as well. This is a unique participatory approach that has been led by global ABCD, practitioners and those people who teach and, provide skills to the people about the ABCD, which is asset-based community development techniques to different organizations. I'm also honored that today our session is also, looked after by Michelle, who is the driver, the spirit behind this entire unconference. This is also an opportunity for us all to, meet each other in these difficult times. And of course, virtually meeting and discussing about various issues and challenges that we as women are facing at the grassroots level is important part of this conference as well. And this conference is providing the opportunity to the community members of all ages, all abilities, formal, informal leaders, and especially the creative thinkers to, from across the world. If you see this unconference website, you see that this is one of the sessions. There are a lot of almost many hundreds of sessions are being hosted at the similar time zone as we are doing across the world. My name is, let me also introduce myself. I'm Farah Tasif. I'm the founder president of Institute of Peace and Diplomatic Studies. And at the Institute, we primarily focus on public diplomacy, about the leadership, and about, of course, about sustainable development goals. We have several programs. Center for Women, Peace and Leadership is primarily focusing on, academic and, of course, research-based, and providing the trainings to the institutions. There are several people. One of the programs is Emerging Young Women Leaders Congress, and a few of the panelists today here are from the program as well, apart from other colleagues who have joined us from different parts of Pakistan as well. So I'm joined by my co-host Shad Begum. Shad Begum will be introducing herself as well, and our harvester for the entire session will be Fatima Beg, who is very talented, and she's a communication consultant with IPDS. I give the floor to Shad for a brief introduction, and then I'll share with you about the panel that has joined us. Ms. Ifat Jamil, Sadaf Taimur, Ms. Jubli Hunzai, Sayyada Najma Shukur from AJK, Huma Qurban, Mario Umar, Rabia Nasir, Shwana Shah, Mahda Mianji, and of course, and we will be asking 3 major key questions from the panel in the round of questions, and then we will be, building our conversation around it. This can be in English, and if you're comfortable, you can also go on Urdu. We will be also, sharing with our colleagues who are, organized this conference. We will be sharing their, your translated transcript to our conference organizers. This entire session will be recorded so that, this will be used only for the, as a conference proceeding, and it has nothing to do with any else. There's a Chatham House rules are applied where you only use for the academic purposes or for the learning purposes only, and you will not be coded anywhere. You can free to share a lot of, insights on that. I would like to request Shad for a brief introduction about herself, and then we will begin our first round of questions related to this session. This session was, before I hand over to Shad, a bit of introduction about this session as well, that we would like to have, as local, the conference has said, local voices and leaders, women leaders who are facing a lot of challenges during the COVID-19, how they're facing that challenge, and how we can learn from their experiences, how can we overcome. And we also like you to share your, if you're not on the panel but you're a participant, you can share your introduction, your details in the chat box as well. So Shad, floor is yours for the introduction.
Thank you so much, Farhat, for doing this amazing work, and thanks to Fatma as well for being with us in this journey. Before I initiate my introduction, that I welcome everyone here in this important discussion. We need to have more discussions like these because, as Farhat mentioned, that during the lockdown or COVID process, we need to share experiences and we need to talk about our challenges and then how we are coping up with all these challenges and making things easy for each of us, not personally, but most of us are working with women, children, and youth communities in different communities. So this is good to share experiences that how we are even trying to continue our work and without affecting, because everything has affected by the entire lockdown and all these things. So yes, my name is mentioned by Farhat many times. My name is Shah Begum. I'm working for women's and youth economic and political empowerment in Pakistan, and especially I'm focusing on Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region. But currently in this, since the COVID has begun, so the lockdown is there and all of our activities on the ground, we have just like, paused them for a while. But we have recently launched another initiative that is called Women Voices Pakistan, where we're trying to create an online platform for women and girls to share their stories of struggle, their challenges, and their future vision, that how in the current changing scenario, they're thinking about the world and how they're going to contribute their part, their talent in that entire process. So we will be doing that. And now I would like to ask Farhat to continue the session, and we are here with Farhat, with even with all of you. So thank you, Farhat, once
Thank you
again.
so much. Thank you so much, Charles. You were unwell, but you had joined us. Thank you so much for collaborating in such an important event. Of course, this should, as you said, this should continue, and we will definitely continue in our conversation with all the amazing panelists who are here today. So, my first question to all the panelists who are with us today is that I would request that participants to mute themselves only, and do not mute your close your videos. We would like to see everyone, because this session is important for us to know that everybody is healthy, everybody is participating. Thank you so much for joining us. There are one of the first question from all the panelists who are joining us, and I would like to first introduce you to those panelists as well. Ms. Ifat Jamil has joined us from Rawalpindi, who is the partnership manager, Handicap International as well. Sadaf Temur, who is a research fellow and doctoral scholar, Japan Society for Promotion of Science, University of Tokyo, Japan. Ms. Jubli Hunzai, who is the senior program officer, Trust for Democratic Education and Accountability. Sayyida Najma Shkoor, she is the CEO of Women's Welfare Organization from Azad Jammu and Kashmir. Khoma Kurban has also joined us from Quetta, from Balochistan, founder, Rights Research and Development Foundation. Maria Umar will be joining us in a few minutes, founder, president, Women's Digital League from Punjab. Rabia Nasir Mahmood, who is the CEO and founder of the NKR Group of Companies, joining us from the south of Punjab. Shawana Shah, who is the program manager, the Khawalor, who is the KP-based organization. Mahira is the founder and president of Women is a Nation organization from Liari, from Sindh. These are all our worthy panelists. I would like to ask from each one of you, first you need to introduce yourself, your organization and what is the focus of that organization, your region as well, and you need to take, say, 3 minutes each for sharing that what are your personal and organization leadership challenges as a result of the COVID-19 emergence. So my question from each one of you is to share that what are the personal and organization challenges that you had faced during this COVID-19 pandemic that has happened, and it's really creating a lot of chaos across Pakistan. So I would like to request each one of you to take the 3 minutes, and then let me give the floor to Ifat. Ifat, can you unmute yourself and share your own introduction and of course your question, respond to that. And by the way, Ifat and I myself, we both were there in Coady as well. We are Coady Global Leaders Fellows as well. Ifat, your floor is yours.
Thank you, Farhat. Thanks a lot. Yes, I and Farhat was together in Coady, and after a long time also seeing Robin. So hello, Robin, as well. I'm working with Handicap International, and I think it's more than 16 years that I'm in the development sector. My passion is to work with children and women, and my most work is with children, and especially with children with disability and women with disabilities. Regarding the question that Farhat asked, the first personal challenge in this pandemic was like my organization was responding to this pandemic. So it means that we were not enjoying work from home status. We were in a field right from day first. And field means in KP, in Punjab, and in Sindh. Um, and it was like I was exposing myself towards this risk, and definitely then my family. I was staying outside home. I was staying in places that may not be so safe, because of the closure at local levels, because all the hotels, all the restaurants, all the guest houses were closed. So it was challenging for the humanitarian workers just to stay over there, and just making stay in offices was like sometimes not safe, because in the same offices then you need to share the residences with your male workers as well. So again, it means this was some of the practical challenges that we faced. My organization was like, the challenge from my organization was that being a lead person, I was taking decisions, but later on my decisions was not owned by some of the male members. And if those same member, if those male members are means making the same decisions, nobody questioned them. Like I was the first who responded in my organization to this, and my project was like, its name is Growing Together Project. We are working with 0 to 12 years age children with disabilities and vulnerabilities in KP, in 2 districts in Nowshera and Peshawar. So I started my work just day first, being because my community was very vulnerable and they need our support. So when I started this, on daily basis, I'm facing that some of my male group members were just posting that, oh, this much number has increased, this much number has increased, we are on a risk, we are on a risk. So means on daily basis I'm facing. And then on one day when we had a management meeting, so I clearly asked the people that if we are a humanitarian organization, then we need to see that how we can respond to this. It's not the case that we are saying that we are exposing to risk, but it's also important to see that how we can reach to people, those the people who need us at this time. So like later on when this goes on and when the offices started opening and with SOPs and all these things, so then nobody like appreciated that one from our females colleague just started or took this initiative. So people are a little bit like they are, what to say, they're not open to appreciate women's activities or women's efforts. This is one thing very much clear. At
Thank you.
personal level, another biggest challenge was, when you're working with humanitarian sector and in such pandemic situations, your family suffers. It means you are out of your home, and at this stage, especially when all your kids are at home, no schooling, no other activities, they need you more. So managing the time between family, between your work was another challenge. And definitely if your family members are not supportive, and if they are not considering and they're not thinking that yes, you are working on other edge, that's very important, it's impossible. So another challenge that I would mention is reaching to women in communities. This is a digital era, and everyone has a phone. Most of the campaigns run on digitally. Most of the messages air digitally, where we give messages that you need to wash your hands, you need to keep physical distance, you need to do so many hygienic steps. But unfortunately, the women who are living in a very conservative area, they don't have access to mobile. And
Okay.
even if they have a mobile, that's just a very old version mobile, the button mobiles. They cannot access to smartphones unless and until their men are willing to share few information with them, but they are not allowed. So in my case, in most of the cases, especially hygiene kit distribution to women, when I added some items for women, like sanitary pads and etc., these things, the community male members questioned us that why you people are giving this to our women's, means they don't need this. And when we asked from women, they were not knowing that there was such thing going on at such a mass level, and they need to take care of themselves and their children. They were just taking it as usual, that okay, it's fine, we don't know. And even in some cases, when we provided the food ration, the women were not aware that their name were given for the food rations. It was their male members. Means in still this 2020 era, we are facing these difficulties and challenges, that how to ensure that women are getting their rights.
Thanks. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Ifat. Thank you, Ifat. I would like to give floor to Sadaf, Sadaf Taimur. Sadaf, share with us your own personal challenge, of course, and organizational level challenges that you faced during this emergence of the pandemic. Yeah. And 3 minutes, everyone. You have 2.5 minutes to, speak, and then 40 seconds, because if we continue the conversation longer, then we will have 2 more big questions that we really want to ask, and share the insights as well.
Right.
And if you, yeah.
Okay. Shall I start?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So I will be short. I want to start with my personal challenges because Farhat has already introduced me. So there are 2 sides to my personal challenges. As one side is working as a researcher. I work as a researcher at University of Tokyo under Japan Society for the Promotion of Science. And I felt during the pandemic, the workload had increased a lot and has increased a lot. And I felt that I had to work till midnight sometimes, or sometimes till morning, 3 a.m. To make sure that the work is done and the next day lessons are prepared. And while we were teaching online, there were a lot of projects which were there and we were dealing with, which we were not dealing with when we were working in the office. And we were not aware of them, that we are dealing with all of them. And because of that, I think I was stressed out and my energy got drained. So I tried making sure that I should not burn out because of this. And the second part was my son was at home. I had to plan his activities too, because I cannot afford him to be at home and doing nothing all the time. So, and the workload had increased a lot, given that I have to manage with household activities and work as well. And the research activities too. On the other side, as I was dealing with youth from Pakistan, so I always work with them online. And this time, as I was dealing with this side of work out of office at my home, I was not able to give a lot of time to people online. And it was really difficult for me to manage the time. That was the biggest challenge for me. And I was fully burned out.
Thank you, Sadaf. Now floor is Jubli Bano. Jubli Hunzai. You can unmute yourself and introduce yourself, of course, to the panelists. And those who are just joined, who are not at the panel, but we would really like to have your inputs in the chat boxes. You can introduce yourself, write down about yourself, ask questions. We will really want not to mute you, but we really want you to be active in the chat box and ask a lot of questions as you like. So we will be opening later. We will, sharing with you and asking you a lot of questions as well. Yeah. Jubli.
Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I am Jubli Hunzai. I am from Pakistan and I am working with Trust for Democratic Education and Accountability. It is a coalition of more than 50 civil society organizations in Pakistan. It's working across the Pakistan. Regarding the challenges of COVID-19, personally, as everyone shared, to manage work on digitize, we are not used to in this work arrangement, especially in Pakistan. And our seniors, our office persons are also not used to, even at 8 or 9 p.m. they are calling and asking for a work. So obviously it's very challenging to manage this work, but now it's settled. Secondly, we are working in the areas where gender voter gap of women is high. So most of the women have not, 12.48 million women have not registered for national identity card, who have not access to internet, and illiteracy rate is high, obviously. So we have no evidences or data for advocacy. As an advocacy organizations, we have so many challenges. And Suddenly, all actual program domain shifted to COVID-19 related activities, and in managing all the program activities in short time span and implementing those activities in field level by keeping in view all the safety measures, as the field staff are very prone to this risk because there is to lack of education, lack of safety equipment. So these are all challenges we are facing, and we are adjusting it with this. Thank you. Hope we will learn and we will share so many good things in this platform. Thank you, Farhat, for giving us opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, Huma Fuladi. Huma has joined us from Quetta. The floor is yours. The question, our first round of first question is all about your personal challenge and of course your organizational challenge that you're facing in this pandemic. Welcome to those who are just joined us. We are just going around about our first question about, challenges that women as leaders are facing at the grassroots level in their work. Huma.
Thank you, Farhat. Thanks for organizing such a wonderful program. And hello to all. I'm Huma Qurban Fuladi from Quetta, Balochistan, running an organization with the name of Right Research and Development Foundation, which is particularly focused on legal awareness, legal rights, and drug addicts. So I started my career from 2005 and 2006, but registered my organization in 2009, particularly when I see women are major victims of injustice, discrimination, and corruption. Farhat, your question gave birth to another question. Few days before we were discussing, was the world normal for women before COVID-19? So the answer was no. We were facing issues before COVID-19 and now facing the same challenges. When I started my career within my own community, I established a small center. I took initiative with the home-based workers to promote their work at national level and to eliminate the role of the middleman. You can't imagine the issues I faced within my own community. I fought patriarchy, misogyny, and after lots of hue and cry, and when I was helpless, then I moved to another place. When I moved to another place, I thought I would be comfortable now here. And what I faced there at that era, sorry, Farhat, you are asking about COVID-19 challenges.
Yes,
so I'm comparing, right?
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm comparing both the issues. So what happened at that time, when I moved to another place, I thought I would be comfortable now here. On the second day of new place, when I entered my office, I was climbing stairs. Someone opened fire on me. I managed to escape and run away. At that time, target killing, sectarian killing was at rise. I thought it may be some sectarian killing issue. Next day, the watchman called me early morning that the door is open. I thought there must be some robbery. When I reached office and checked, nothing was robbed. Only the data and literature on women's rights, they tore it into pieces and put it on my table just to convey the message that you cannot work on women's rights. And after that, see, we are facing, men was facing only security issues, and we are facing double challenges. Security, plus that we can't work on women's rights, misogyny, patriarchy. And now during COVID-19, will you believe that up till now, as we are working on legal rights, lots of cases, people reported us, 28 women, they put to death. They were brutally murdered in different areas of Balochistan. But luckily this time, all the cases were reported. Those women, they have different sort of cases, but now due to we have not much access to the courts and justice system, so they are requesting us to go for a jirga, and we said that we are not supporting jirga system because it is you can say that most of the jirga cases are not in the favor of women. So we are not encouraging them for the jirga system. And maybe I shared few days before, there was some internal issues between two communities there. What we faced, that all were targeting women, and beside targeting,
Huma, we are losing you. Huma, we are losing you. Anyway, thank you so much, Huma, for the input. Let me give the floor to Zohra. Zohra Nawaz has joined us from Waziristan. It's besides Afghanistan. It's just in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Zohra has joined us from Waziristan. Her internet is not working that much in that region. So, Zohra, can you hear us? Can you unmute yourself and share your insight about your personal challenges? Zohra, can you hear us? آپ سن
Yes,
سکتی
Farhat
ہیں
Abhi,
ہمیں؟
I'm here.
جی
Yes,
جی جی.
yes, I'm here.
Zara, please go ahead and share your insights. And what are the challenges
Okay.
that you're facing apart from the internet and many other challenges that the region is facing? Yes, Zara, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. First of all, I would like to say that I'm not that in English, so I will talk
Oh, please
in
speak
both
Urdu.
in Urdu
It's
and
all.
yes.
Yes, go ahead in Urdu. آپ بول سکتے ہیں. It's not
Okay.
mandatory. We will be sharing your insights and translating that. No worries. کوئی
Okay.
مسئلہ نہیں ہے.
Thank you so much, Farhat Abhi.
جی جی بتائیے.
Actually, I already have done with many organization. I have a social background. Nowadays, currently, I am working with as a monitoring officer with IMU KP department. So
Okay.
ہم ایجوکیشن جو میں بیسیکلی نارتھ وزیرستان سے بلانگ کرتی ہوں اور میرا کام بھی یہی پہ ہوتا ہے. تو اس چیز نے مجھے ایک بڑا مجھے پلیٹ فارم پرووائڈ کیا کہ میں اپنے لوگوں کو بالکل وہ جو گراس روٹ لیول پہ دیکھنا ہوتا ہے وہ میں دیکھ سکوں. کیونکہ یہاں پہ ہم کیا کرتے ہیں کہ جو فیمیل سکولز ہوتے ہیں موسٹلی جو ہم لوگ وزٹ کرتے ہیں تو وہ وہی اسکولس کو وزٹ کرتے ہیں. وہاں پہ ہمارا انٹریکشن ہوتا ہے ود ویمن ٹیچرز جو ہوتی ہیں اور جو گرلس ہوتی ہیں اسٹوڈنٹس ہوتی ہیں. تو اکثر چونکہ میرا وہ آلریڈی ایک بیک گراؤنڈ رہ چکا ہے سوشل ورک کا. آئی ڈونٹ نو اباؤٹ مائی ادر کولیگز آلدو جب ہماری میٹنگ ہوتی ہے تو میں یہ چیز ان کو بھی کہتی رہتی ہوں کہ اپارٹ فرام آور جاب ہمیں یہ چیز بھی جو سوشل ہمارے ایک بنتا ہے ہماری ذمہ داری رسپانسبلٹیز بنتی ہے تو اس کو بھی ہم آگے لے کے آئیں. وہاں سے کویسچنز ہم اکٹھے کریں. اگر ہمیں اس طرح کے پلیٹ فارمز مہیا ہوں تو وہاں پہ ہم یہ انفارمیشن شیئر کر سکتے ہیں. تو وہاں پہ جب ہم جاتے ہیں ایک تو اگر کووڈ-19 کے حوالے سے میں سب سے اسپیسیفکلی بات کروں تو یہاں پہ کوئی اویئرنیس نہیں ہے. جیسے کہ آپ نے بتایا کہ انٹرنیٹ تک رسائی نہیں ہے, موبائلس تک رسائی نہیں ہے. یہاں پہ بہت سی عورتیں مور دین 80% جو عورتیں ہوتی ہیں وہ رورل ایریاز میں ہیں اور پھر یہاں پہ انٹرنیٹ کا بہت ایشو ہے. تو ایک تو یہ ہے کہ جو سب سے بڑا ایشو جو ایک تو یہ انٹرنیٹ کا ہے اگر میں کہوں, کیونکہ یہاں پہ ہماری کچھ لڑکیاں ایسی بھی ہے جو کہ ہائر ایجوکیشن کی اگر میں سب سے بات کروں بڑی بات کہ جو لڑکیاں یونیورسٹیز میں پڑھتی ہیں, لڑکے تو کہیں نہ کہیں خود کو ایڈجسٹ کر کے بازار جا کے یا کہیں پہ جہاں پہ انٹرنیٹ اویلیبل ہو تو وہاں پہ جا کے خود کو وہ آن لائن کلاسز بھی لے لیتی ہے, کنیکٹ کر لیتی ہیں. لیکن لڑکیوں کا بہت بڑا ایشو ہے کہ ان کے ایجوکیشن کا بھی نقصان ہو رہا ہے ہر طرح سے. اچھا دوسرا چونکہ ٹائم شارٹ ہے تو میں اس کو زیادہ وہ ایکسپلین نہیں کر پا رہی ہوں, میں جلدی بس ٹو دی پوائنٹ باتیں کر رہی ہوں. دوسری بات یہ ہے کہ ویمن امپاورمنٹ کی اگر ہم بات کریں تو یہاں پہ میں اکثر جب اسکول جاتی ہوں تو وہاں پہ جو ٹیچرز ہوتی ہیں وہ ہماری لوکل ٹیچرز ہوتی ہیں. تو میں ان سے جب سیلری اور ان چیزوں کے بارے میں پوچھتی ہوں کہ مطلب وہ آپ دیتی ہیں تو اس کا کیا کرتی ہیں, تو مجھے یہ چیز ایک بہت شاکڈ اور حیران کن لگی ہے کہ وہ عورتیں کام بھی کرتی ہیں, وہ عورتیں ٹیچنگ بھی کرتی ہیں, وہ عورتیں اسکول بھی آتی ہیں, گھر بھی سنبھالتی ہیں, لیکن ان کے تنخواہوں کا ان کو اپنی تنخواہوں کا پتہ بھی نہیں ہے کہ وہ ان کی کتنی تنخواہیں ہیں, کیونکہ ان کی تنخواہیں یا تو سسر لیتے ہیں یا ان کے ہسبینڈز لیتے ہیں یا ان کے باپ دیتے ہیں. تو میں یہ کہہ رہی تھی کہ یہاں پہ عورتیں کام بھی کر رہی ہیں لیکن پھر بھی وہ ویمن امپاورمنٹ نہیں آ رہی ہے, کیونکہ وہ ان لوگوں کو اپنے حق کا ہی نہیں पता। तो ये चीज़ मुझे बहुत डिस्टर्ब कर रही थी कि ये क्या मतलब सिस्टम है कि आप काम भी करो और आप के पैसे कोई और ले, आपको पता भी ना हो।
ज़ोहरा, हमें ये
एक ये
बताइए
चीज़।
कि आप खुद ज़ोहरा, आपका अपना पर्सनल चैलेंज कैसे है? ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की तो आप थोड़ा सा शेयर कर रहे हैं, आप अपना पर्सनल चैलेंज जो आपको फेस हो रहा है, स्पेशली ये जो कोरोना वायरस और पेंडेमिक की वजह से आपका अपना काम जो है वो किस तरह से मुतासिर हुआ है, और आपने कौन सी कोई ऐसा क्या चैलेंजेस फेस करे हो ज़ोहरा वहाँ पर?
चैलेंजेस तो ये है कि चूंकि यहाँ पे अब हम लोगों का ये होता है कि विजिट करना होता है। एक तो सबसे बड़ी बात ये है कि वो ऑफिस की तरफ से तो वो तो जैसे इंडिविजुअली सब ने कहा है कि हमें होती है इस तरह से, और फिर हम जिस इलाके से बिलोंग करते हैं तो वहाँ पे तो जाहिर है। लेकिन फिर भी मैं कोशिश करती हूँ कि ये जो हमारा जो जो हमारे सिस्टम है, जो हमारी वो बनी हुई है, एक स्टीरियोटाइप बना हुआ है, इसको मैं हटाऊं, इसको मैं थोड़ा सा वो ब्रेक करने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ। और ये मैं अपने खानदानी लेवल पे भी कर रही हूँ, अपने ऑफिस प्रोफेशनल लेवल पे भी कर रही हूँ, और सोशल लेवल पे भी मैं कर रही हूँ। और सबसे बड़ी बात ये कि जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल जो अगर मैं चैलेंजेस की बात करूँ कोविड-19 की वजह से, कि हमें फिरना होता है, तो बड़ी बात ये कि लोग घरों से नहीं निकलते, फिर भी हमारी ड्यूटीज है। तो जहाँ पे हम इलाकों में जाते हैं कि वहाँ पे मतलब वैसे भी यहाँ पे मोबिलिटी इतनी आम नहीं है, हम बहुत रिस्क लेके जॉब कर रहे होते हैं। लेकिन अभी आजकल इस तरह है कि लॉकडाउन की तरह है और लोग घरों से नहीं निकलते। तो जब हम विजिट्स कर रहे होते हैं तो जिन इलाकों में हम जाते हैं वहाँ पे एक तो हमारा ट्रांसपोर्ट का बड़ा इशू चल रहा है, क्योंकि वो हमें नहीं मिल रहा होता है। दूसरा ये कि हम स्कूल जाते होते हैं तो वो इलाके सुनसान इलाके होते हैं, मतलब
अच्छा।
वहाँ पे कोई नहीं होता। तो वो फिर वो जो हमारे यहाँ पे वजीरिस्तान का इलाका तो आप सबको पता है कि किस तरह है। तो हमें वो बड़ा इशू होता है कि, और दूसरा अभी ये पेट्रोल क्राइसिस चल रही है, तो इसकी वजह से हमारी एक कुलीग है कि वो एक ऐसे इलाके में स्टक हो गई थी कि क्योंकि यहाँ पे हर जगह पेट्रोल अवेलेबल भी नहीं, पेट्रोल स्टेशंस। तो वो एक ऐसे इलाके में स्टक हो गई थी कि वहां से मतलब वो बेचारी पैदल चल के आई आई हुई थी। तो ये मतलब वो जो नॉर्मल रूटीन है लाइफ का वो सारा डिस्टर्ब हो गया हुआ है। तो हमारा नॉर्मल डेज में भी हमारी जॉब बहुत ज्यादा रिस्की होती है। तो अब कोरोना की वजह से तो और भी मतलब ये रिस्क हमें उठाने
थैंक यू,
पड़ रहे हैं।
थैंक यू ज़ोहरा, थैंक यू सो मच। अब हम जब नेक्स्ट राउंड ऑफ क्वेश्चन हम लेंगे तो आपका इनपुट बड़ा इम्पोर्टेंट होगा। Floor is yours. Of course, Myra, you have been working also with the education sector. Your work with the girls and adolescents, especially जो आपका इलाका है, वहाँ आप जो काम करते हैं. Please do share about your own introduction, your own work that you have been doing, Myra, and your region, especially where you are working, how risky is that, and your personal challenge, especially in this pandemic, and your own organization challenge that I often see a lot of challenges that you're facing. Myra, floor is yours.
Thank you, Farad. So my name is Mahira. I'm the founder of an organization, Women is a Nation. WIN is basically more focused on women rights. We are actively working on female education, and we are using sports as a tool to empower them. I'm also working with an international organization named Right to Play that uses sports to empower children and women. So I have been facing a lot of challenges since Farad has mentioned that the area which I have been working is called Liari, and Liari is considered as one of the most violent town of Karachi city. So we have been facing a lot of challenges like target killings and terror attacks, and I was threatened multiple times to shut my school and avoid teaching girls. I'm not sure what was their major problem, but they never wanted me to teach girls. So basically, this pandemic has affected me and my organization a lot. Like, I have been working from home since last 4 months, and it's so depressing sometimes. You want to go out with your friends, you want to hug your friends, you want to do your work and return to your normal lifestyle, but you can't do that. You are not allowed to do that. And other challenge which I faced is that in my organization we have male members, and like, and when I was dividing the work that because we did the ration campaigns, we distributed cash among the families, and then there was a building which collapsed in Lyari. We organized funding for them. So a lot of male members were like, now you are not giving so many work to female members, you are focusing on us, you are giving more work to us. And I was like, hey, what should I do? So these are the real challenges. Like when it comes to team, they think like, women, if you are a feminist, okay, you said you are a feminist, you can do whatever you want, so go and do every work. So this is a real challenge, I guess.
Thank you, Myra, for raising such important questions. I would like to now give floor to Najma Shakur Saiba. Kaisi hain aap? Najma Shakur Saiba has joined us from Azad Jammu and Kashmir. She's CEO of a wonderful organization, and I think that her experience, especially the voice that we can hear from a region like Kashmir, Kashmir is divided between Pakistan and India, so Najma works from the part that Pakistan is having. Najma, floor is yours. आप बताइए आपको पर्सनल लेवल पे क्या चैलेंज है, और जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आप हेड करती हैं उसमें बताइए कि क्या चैलेंजेस आप फेस कर रहे हैं.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मेरी तरफ से तमाम पैनलिस्ट को सलाम पहुंचे. मेरी आवाज आ रही है फिर?
जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल,
जी
बिल्कुल.
बहुत शुक्रिया आपका कि आपने यहाँ सबके साथ मिलने का मौका फराहम किया. तो मेरा तल्लक चूँकि जो आज़ाद कश्मीर है पाकिस्तान के साथ, जो यहाँ आज़ाद कश्मीर का एरिया, उसमें मैं रावलाकोट में रहती हूँ. तो हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पिछले 24 सालों से काम कर रही है. मैं इसकी फाउंडर हूँ. मैंने बनाई थी तो 24 सालों से हम पूरी आज़ाद कश्मीर में ना सिर्फ काम कर रहे हैं बल्कि लिया टांग वगैरह में भी काम किया है. तो मेरा चूँकि काम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का जिस तरह नाम से ज़ाहिर है कुल्ली ख्वातीन के साथ है. 45,000 मेंबर है हमारे. 1200 कम्युनिटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बनाई हुई है आज़ाद कश्मीर में. तो मैं थोड़ा सा पहले बताना चाहूँगी कि आज़ाद कश्मीर का एरिया चूँकि हिली एरिया है, और आप तो जानती हैं और कुछ और साथी भी शायद जानते हो, यहाँ के मसाइल थोड़ा मुख्तलिफ है. यहाँ मसलन इस वक्त भी बिजली नहीं है. तो जब ये कोविड-19 के हवाले से काम करने का वक्त आया तो यहाँ नेट का इशू बहुत ज़्यादा था और ना होने के बराबर था, और सफ़र भी बाहर निकलना भी मुश्किल है. चूँकि मैं खुद भी एक बिल्कुल गांव में रहती हूँ, यहाँ से मेरा ऑफिस जाना भी मुमकिन नहीं है, लेकिन ज़ाहिर है बाहर निकलना पड़ा. बहुत ज़्यादा बाहर मुश्किलात थी ख़वातीन के हवाले से. वो ऐसी आप कहेंगी फिर वो चीज़ें भी शेयर करेंगे कि क्या क्या मुश्किलात हैं. तो ऑफिस बंद करने पड़े. वो जो बच्चियां हैं वो भी फारग होंगी घरों से काम करने वाला, चूँकि सिलसिला जो होता है वो लैपटॉप पे कोई काम हो सके तो करना. क्योंकि हमारा काम था कि अमलन मैदान में निकले. क्योंकि आज़ाद कश्मीर का ख़ासकर रावलाकोट की जितनी आबादी है, यहाँ 80% लोग जो हैं कि मिडिल ईस्ट में छोटी छोटी नौकरियाँ करते हैं, छोटी छोटी जॉब्स, मजदूरी समझ लें. अब वो लोग सारे तकरीबन फारग हो गए या वहाँ फंस गए. तो घरों में वही बात है, फिर फाइनेंशियली बहुत ज़्यादा बर्डन आ गया. और ऐसा हुआ कि हमें कम से कम रोटी के परेशानी होगी कि हर घर में कम से कम खाना पहुँचे. वो यहाँ बहुत ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम था. तो फिर मुझे बाहर निकलना, मेरी साथियों को बाहर निकलना. फिर अल्लाह का फजल है, बड़ा काम किया उसमें, जैसे जैसे आप कहेंगी आगे तफसील में जाऊंगी. लेकिन ये एक बड़ा इशू हुआ हमारे लिए कि फाइनेंशियली इशू बहुत ज़्यादा था. और जो आप कह सकते हो कि नेट ना होने की, जिसे कम्युनिकेशन, हमारी जो मेरी दोस्तें बाहर से कुछ कर रही थी काम शाम, उनके साथ रब्ता इस तरह की वीडियो का जब वो कहें कि करें तो बहुत मुश्किल था कि नहीं हो सकता था मैं उनके साथ रब्ते में.
बिल्कुल ठीक है. और नजमा जी, पर्सनल लेवल पे, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन लेवल पे जो आप काम कर रही थी, वो तो जाहिर है आपका काम बहुत ग्रास रूट लेवल पे प्रैक्टिकल काम है, आप ऑनलाइन नहीं कर सकते, और स्पेशली कम्युनिकेशन का भी मसला है, तो वो फिर सारा की वजह से आपका बहुत डिस्टर्ब हुआ. पर्सनल लेवल पे आप चैलेंज क्या फेस करी थी आप? मतलब एक तो ये था कि आपने सबको किस तरह से इकट्ठा भी कर रही हैं. ये चाहूंगी कि ये सवाल का आप जवाब जरूर दें, क्योंकि नजमा का जो है ना बहुत ही because Najma works with all the, it's just hands-on, and it's just she's playing with all the sand that is there. So Najma ji, ये बताइए कि इस वक्त आप उस challenge को किस तरह से manage कर रहे हैं?
जी, जो सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज है, यहाँ स्मार्टफोन बहुत कम ख्वातीन के पास जिस तरह मैसर होते हैं या हैं, अवेलेबल हैं, या जो, तो हम फिर फ़ोन कॉल्स पे दूसरे छोटे फ़ोन सबके पास तकरीबन मौजूद थे, या तंजीम में सदर मैनेजर के पास थे, तो उन पे फिर हमने बैठा दिए, कोई बच्चियाँ बच्चे जो भी अवेलेबल थे। ज़्यादा मेरे अपने घर की फैमिली ने ज़्यादा काम किया, सपोर्ट किया कि सबको मैसेज देना कि किस इलाके से हमें वल्नरेबल का ग्रुप जो है वो उनको सामने आइडेंटिफाई करके दें, क्योंकि हमने तो कई हज़ार के साथ फिर काम करना था, उनको खुराक बर वक्त पहुँचानी थी। फिर मेरे साथ एक जो माजूर ख्वातीन है विद डिसेबिलिटी है, तो वो एक बहुत बड़ा ग्रुप है आज़ाद कश्मीर का, फिर उनकी देखभाल, फिर उनके लिए हम इस्लामाबाद में एक घर अब बड़ा तलाश कर रहे हैं, वहाँ बना के उनको शिफ्ट करने का प्रोग्राम बना रहे हैं। बाज़ को बेड सोर्स हो गए, बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम चैलेंज सामने आए, लेकिन मैं इतना ज़रूर कहना चाहूँगी कि अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह हम अच्छी तरह निकलने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। निकल तो नहीं सके, लेकिन निकलने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि क्योंकि सब ख्वातीन बेरोज़गार हो गई। जो छोटी छोटी यहाँ की नौकरियाँ छोटी थी, किसी के घर में कोई काम कर रहा है या कोई यहाँ समझे बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ी किसी की नौकरी हुई, तो प्राइवेट स्कूल में टीचिंग थी, तो वो सारी तनख्वाहें बंद हो गई, और वो नौकरियाँ और वो जो पीएम की नौकरी छोटी छोटी या घरों में वो खत्म हो गई। यहाँ बहुत बड़ी कोई इंडस्ट्री तो है नहीं आज़ाद कश्मीर का, आप जानती हैं, तो फाइनेंशियली बहुत ज़्यादा क्राइसिस में आई आज़ाद कश्मीर, बहुत ज़्यादा।
बिल्कुल ठीक है। Now I would like to request Maria Omar. Maria is a very good friend. Maria is heading this Women Digital League, and especially in this pandemic, I'm giving her the floor to learn also about this, how the women are facing a lot of struggles in this. And Maria, your input is very important, especially when you are also running and supporting women in this entire process as well. Maria, floor is yours. Maria Omar. Yes.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you, Farah, for giving me the opportunity. So, personal problems. So, I've been someone who has been advocating for online work and the shift to digital for the past 12 years almost now. But unfortunately, even someone like me, once the pandemic hit and we had to go into a lockdown, even I have suffered a lot because technology did not come as easily to me also as working the conventional way. You can do it up to a certain point, Skype and WhatsApp and emails, etc. But there is a need for that human contact, that face-to-face. So that has been challenging. It has taken its emotional toll on all of us. I think that psychological toll it has taken on everyone, that has been immense, especially being women and working for women. It's already a hard job for us, but then not having that close contact with our support system, which is mostly other women and some male allies as well, but not having that support system around us to be able to go out and unwind and talk about our challenges and then just kind of, get that support. It has been very hard. It has been similar for other women who are not techies. The problem at the organizational level I've seen is that although my team has always worked remotely, my connection with them has always been remote. We have never promoted a brick and mortar organization, but still meeting time to time, face to face, to discuss and to regroup and to restructure and to plan things, that is extremely important at some point or the other. So yes, it's been tough. And then, working from home comes with its own challenges. First, when you are a female, you are at home, the men of the house leave in the mornings and then they come back in the evenings. So you have the house to yourself and you can do what you need to do. But when the men are also sitting at home, they're a huge problem because they expect that they are the ones who are working and you're just sitting there, just maybe, the stereotype gossiping or whatever. So the challenge is more. I wouldn't mind working from home as long as the men could just be sent back to work from somewhere else, if I'm being honest. So with all the other women that I've spoken to, they all said the same, that, it's just so hard because the men just don't get it. They want what they want and they want their coffee and they want their tea and they want everything laid in front of them. And now we can't work. So yeah, for me, that's been a huge challenge, both at the organizational level and the personal level.
Thank you so much, Maria. Shavana, who is from KP, she's part of a wonderful organization, the Havalor. Shavana, floor is yours. You can also share your personal challenge and your organizational challenge. Thank you, Maria, for raising such an important question. Shavana.
Hi.
And can you also share what does the Havalor means for our international audience as well?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I'm Shavana Shah, leading the Havalur organization. The Havalur is basically a Pashto word which means daughter of Eve. So we are actually working for the protection and rights of women and transgender persons in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And our work includes policy advocacy and direct service delivery. We are actually providing free psychological support services and legal support services to the transgender persons in KP. So while talking about at the personal level, so I believe at the personal level, shifting from an active office routine to the work from home was a difficult thing for us, because we were actually used to of working from 9 to 5 at the office, and it was actually for me was a very active schedule. But shifting it to the home where we have a lot of things to do, and like we are on the Zoom meetings and there's something which is disturbing us to get things done at the home as well, was a difficult thing. Second thing was actually the use of technology by all the team members, because we have some trans women with us at the office as well. So it was difficult for them to use technology because they were more related to the field work. So the use of technology for our team members was a difficult thing as well. At the management level and organizational level, I would like to mention that access to our communities to whom we were providing direct services such as psycho-legal support services was a difficult thing during the lockdown, because we had no access to them. Along with that, there are not many women and transgender persons who have access to social media or smartphones. So I would like to mention here one of the story, like we started psychological support services like tele-counseling services during the lockdown. And what happened that we posted that and shared it through our social media platforms. But during 1 week of that announcement, we saw that we had not received even a single call from any person. And we realized that yes, we are using social media to which not many people have access to. It's not reaching out to the grassroots level communities, and we are only using social media for the people who have access to social media. So what we did was we tried reaching out to our focal points and focal persons in the local communities to reach out to them. So access was an issue which still we are facing, but somehow we are coping up with it through our focal points at the management level. One more thing was there was one more issue, which was helping the team members who had family members who suffered from coronavirus or COVID-19. And some of our team members were also affected through COVID-19. So helping them cope up with the stress, anxiety, and fear at the same time was a challenge as well.
Thank you, Shavana. I think that wonderful responses are coming from across Pakistan. I guess that we have women who are working at the community levels. They are facing their personal organizational challenges. My second question to all the panelists and conversation that we are having is about you all organizations that are on the panel. You're working with the community, right? So what are the challenges that community is facing apart from and what are your contribution in addressing them? For instance, if you're for example any organization, so you have faced a challenge, then what are the ways that you address that challenge, that you work with the community, and how did you help them or done something amazing that you can share with all the participants here in the forum? So let me give the floor to Ifat. Ifat, can you also share that challenge that the community was facing, and what are the interventions or anything that you did that is making some sense right now? Because we are into the pandemic, we're not out of the woods right now, but you can share about it, that how as a woman leader there working at the community level, at the local level, what have you done to came out, find some solution, or it must not be right, but you made some of adjustments that you done. So my question would be around finding that solution to the challenge of the community. First, share with us the challenge that communities faced, and then you can also share about the solution that you tried to find out. So
Okay, Farad. Well, the biggest, and I think it's a very common thing. The biggest challenge with us being a nation, I think, is that we don't take things serious. We don't take responsibility actually. So the biggest challenge was when we were out in a field, people were saying that you were just following the Western agenda. It was one of the, I mean, a very common sentence that we, especially we, the developmental workers, hear from our people. So initially, when we started just in April and May, April month was like the people were not believing, and then they started saying that it's all you or that West want to stop our economic activities. They don't want us to grow, like these things. Along with that, that the information were not cascading down to women and children. So that was another issue, that whatever was the discussion within men and outside the home, not within the home. So what we did was that we had parents group in our communities with whom we were working already, and children group. So we continued with them through local community workers. So we have community workers who were trained on some of our project messages. They knew that how to approach the community. So we used them. We made their group on WhatsApp. We trained them on WhatsApp group that how you can take those messages now in a different environment, in a customized way. Even we made some animated videos, and also there was some very good material available on web, especially the CSIM videos. So we gave them those videos that just show it to children on your own mobile. So what we were doing, that we were doing sessions with the group of 4 and 5 children, or 4 or 5 parents, just giving them awareness on and what's going on. And then we were not like going in conflict with them. We were not denying them that, okay, it's not a pandemic or it's not something. We are saying, okay, you are right. But one thing we can do is just let's keep yourself safe and others safe. So don't make means the other people on risk. So if I'm working with you, I'm coming out from Islamabad and working here in local communities. So it's my responsibility just not to put you people on risk. So I need to wear the mask. I need to apply all this hand washing and sanitizer and keep the distance. So you also need to ensure that while talking to the people who are coming to you, you need to ensure this one. So in this way, slowly we went into that. And then when cases increased and when the cases came to their own houses, when 1 or 2 deaths occur in their own towns, then they realize this is something serious going on. Then they have started the thing, started discussion on this with us, and demanded us that we need more information on this and we need more support on this. So we supported people with hygiene kits, with food rations, whatever was possible at community level. And we also encouraged local community based organization. They were really very good in taking initiatives. They made fabric masks. We showed them that how WHO is recommending the this stitching of the fabric masks. We showed the videos to them. We gave them the messages. So they started stitching those fabric masks on their own. They mobilized their resources. Some people who are living abroad, they contacted them and took donation from them. And based on that, they took food ration and other support for the community people. We also linked the people with some other organization and also sensitize people how to register themselves with EHSAS program and with the Wazir-e-Azam sport program. So there are a lot of women who don't know because they don't have the smartphone, so they don't know how to register themselves. So we also means it was like we didn't remain in our own domain. We just tried to explore whatever was possible in that scenario. We did that one, and then slowly and gradually we came back to the routine, because we are, as said, that we are working with children with disability. So we were running with rehabilitation services. One of the biggest challenge for the people with disability was that all the health institutes were closed. They cannot access health facilities, and it means for the other people who are like who have some disease or who are ill, it's tough for them. But for people with disability, it is adding layer to their miseries. So then again, we assumed the rehabilitation services and just trained our staff on that, trained communities that how they'll be bringing. So all together, the working mechanism we changed. Now we are fully functional in the communities. We are fully applying all the SOPs and ensuring that people are now following those SOPs. Like, it's our responsibility that we who are at the community level working, we ensure that if I'm in a field, I'm wearing mask. I'm not shaking hand with anyone. I'm just at the distance of 1 meter. And I'm continuously asking people who are working with me, if I'm seeing anything, like, please put on your mask. No, it's not like that. Just keep distance. So you need to again and again tell the people that you need to do these things.
Thank you first for this wonderful input. Sadaf, you've been working, you are in the education sector especially, and then the challenges that we face, of course, personal and professional levels, with the community that you are representing. Academia has, what are their challenges and how they are adjusting? I mean, chaos is there in entire education sector globally, not only in Pakistan but globally. So what are the adjustments that you and your community is making, especially the education teachers or professors? I think that your input is very important here as well.
So initially it was a chaos. When I talk about Japan specifically, it was a chaos here. So everything shut down. But then gradually the universities moved to the online teaching as a test. And now we are still teaching online. But then for elementary school, they did not start online teaching because they were cognizant of the fact that some students, they do not have equal access to technology. So first of all, they prepared for equal access to technology at schools. Like they donated some iPads and made sure that everybody get access to the technology first, and then they moved on to technology-based learning in elementary schools. But at the same time, not complete transformation. It was teachers recording videos and then asking the parents to let their kids watch the video about the concept and filling up the activity sheets. This was how they transformed the education, elementary school education, to online version. However, now the schools are open with the SOPs in place, like sanitization and wearing the masks and everything, but universities are still closed with limited access to the campus. This is how the education is running. But regarding the personal challenges of many professors in academia here, I think they are still facing a lot of challenges regarding balancing the workload and their personal lives. I think as the schools have opened now, the challenges have decreased. But how I make sure that I go out for a walk regularly and make sure that I am doing things which are taking me away from work for a while at least. So many people, and this is how socio-emotional learning sessions are regularly organized by the university as well, to make sure that we are in good health psychologically and mentally, and we are feeling better for a fresh start for work. So yeah, this is how academia is coping.
Things are happening. Yeah, Myra, your input is important here as well, because you're working with the girls of education, and especially in a region like Lyari, where you're working. So what are the challenges? You mentioned about the challenges, but what are the solutions that you are currently working on to, find that answers to all the, giving education to girls, and of course in the region like yours?
So Farhat, it's quite difficult because most of my students, they are very poor. Their parents don't have smartphones at home. They don't have access to technology, and it's very, very, very difficult for us to conduct online classes, because we have 120 girls, but only 18 families have smartphones. So you can imagine the number of people, they don't have access to internet or mobile phones. So it's quite difficult for us to educate them, but we are helping them by providing rations. They're like, most of them are fishermen, drivers, and laborers. So there is no work, they are not going anywhere, and most of the families, their women work as maids. and they go at people's home and they do their home chores, and then they are paid for this work. So this is very difficult. And then in Lyari, we don't have electricity. Like you have been seeing me, I am using tissues from so many times. Like it's like 8 hours load shed, and then there is unscheduled load shed, and students don't have access to electricity. Then they can't attend their classes. There is no, I mean, they have left no choice for us. And then there was an incident happened. A building collapsed. There were 41 families living in that building, and it was so difficult for all of us. It's not only that my organization did that and my organization did that, but there were so many organizations and people, individuals who were helping them. We with the help of other organizations, we found them places. My father helped me to find places for few families, and we rented them house. So it is very difficult. Children don't have choice here, especially women. And one other thing, like Lyari, it has her dense population, right? And people are living in flats. They are 10 people living in one room. So it's quite difficult for them to manage. Like it's pandemic, and if 10 people are living inside one room, so you can think how difficult it would be. Like if a person is COVID positive, then it is 110% sure that it will affect them all. So it's very difficult to survive in Lyari. And when there is no electricity, there is no gas, you can't cook food, you can't stay inside home, then eventually you will go out. And people are not listening to government. They are not staying at home. They are going out. They are like, who will feed us? Yeah. So these are the
Mahira, thank you. Yeah, Mahira, thank you so much for raising such an important, challenges that you're facing, and especially when we're sitting at this forum. I hope that we will, we hug each other, and then we'll build on something about Lyari. Yeah, thank you so much for the wonderful work despite all the challenges that you're facing and you're doing. Najma ji, आपसे भी इसी तरह का ही सवाल है कि community level पे जो आप पहले जिक्र कर रही थी, you are mentioning about your community's difficulties, बहुत मुश्किल है. वो किस तरह की मुश्किलात आपकी community level पे हैं और आप उनसे किस तरह से लड़ रही हैं? मैंने नजमा को बहुत, I've seen Najma ji working, at the, she's just सही जो मट्टी के साथ लोग काम करते हैं ना, Najma is like that. Najma work with the community, like, and you see her, working with them for so long, and, saying is easy for 40 years or 20 years, but, you can imagine that a woman who is leading such a huge network of women in Kashmir. Najma ji, बताइए community level पर और जो grassroots level पे लोगों को किस तरह की मुश्किलात हैं और आप उनको कैसे address करने की कोशिश करिए? बहुत सारी हैं, उसमें कोई शक शुबे की गुंजाइश नहीं है मायरा की तरह ही, लेकिन कुछ तो है जो हम अच्छा करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं.
फरत, बहुत शुक्रिया. बस मैंने पहले भी जिक्र किया आपके साथ कि आपने 3 दफ़ा पूछा कि आपको क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम फेस करने पड़े, तो मैंने अपना कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं गिना. इसका मतलब है प्रॉब्लम तो बहुत आते हैं. मेरे घर में मैं और मेरा बेटा बहू है. मेरे बेटे की नौकरी छूट गई थी, बड़ा मसला था, ये है वो है. इन चीज़ों से नहीं घबराते. हमने कोशिश की कि हम बाहर निकल के लोगों के लिए बेहतरी कैसे कर सकते हैं, आसानियाँ बांटने वाले कैसे हो सकते हैं. तो मैं 2-4 चीज़ें मिसालें आपको दूंगी. जहाँ मेरा घर है एक गांव में है, तो रावलाकोट के एक छोटे से गांव में, तो इधर इलाके में वजीरिस्तान नहीं, सवात से और दीर वगैरह से बहुत ज़्यादा पठान, और हमारी दूसरी जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट है, दूसरा हवेली कोहूटा, उधर से भी आते थे. और ये लोग मजदूर इधर होते थे, तकरीबन 2-3 हज़ार मजदूर थे मुख्तलिफ छोटे छोटे बाज़ारों में. ये पहुँचे तो फंस गए. तो अचानक रमज़ान भी आ गया और काम बंद, और इनको लोग घर में फिर नहीं जाने देते थे. तो फिर सबसे पहले मैंने कोशिश की कि ये परदेसी है, इनके लिए हम खाने पीने का बंदोबस्त करें. तो मेरी दोस्त है, कुछ ख्वातीन ज़ाहिरा, यहाँ मैंने पहले ही आपको एक मेन बात बताई कि यहाँ फाइनेंशियली बहुत ज़्यादा ये आज़ाद कश्मीर डाउन हुआ क्योंकि नौकरियां लोगों की ख़त्म हो गई, एक एक बंदे के साथ 12-12, 13-13 लोग वो खाने वाले वही। तो फिर भी ये लोग, आपको पता है कि बड़े उस मसले में बाहर निकल आए, मर्दों के साथ मीटिंग की। तो यहाँ चूँकि कोरोना का अटैक उस तरह से नहीं हुआ, कुछ 100 लोग हैं पूरी आज़ाद कश्मीर, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह। तो हमने SOPs को तो पूरा किया, लेकिन हमने जाके उनके लिए मैंने तंदूर लगवाया ऊपर। तो मेरी कुछ दोस्तें हैं बाहर से, उन्होंने पैसे भेजे फौरी तौर पे। हम लोगों ने यहाँ बाजारों में तंदूर फ्री रोटी और साथ दाल शाल शुरू की। तो अल्लाह का शुक्र है, कुछ लोगों ने फिर गोश्त किसी ने भेज दिया, किसी ने मुर्गी, उनके खाने का बंदोबस्त। फिर उन लोगों को वापस ईद को हमने वापस भेजा किराया दे के 20-20, 25-25 हज़ार में गाड़ियां बुक करके। वो बेचारे जिस तरह आए थे उसी तरह बगैर पैसे कमाए फिर गए। तो पहला तो ये पोर्शन था। दूसरा जो ख्वातीन थी, वुमेन विद डिसेबिलिटी, उनके लिए फ़ौरन हमें प्रॉब्लम हो गया कि वो पहाड़ों पे हैं और वहाँ वो वापस थोड़े थोड़े अरसे बाद जाती थी डॉक्टरों से दवाइयाँ शुरू, तो उनके कुछ ज़ख्म ख़राब होने शुरू हो गए जो ज़लज़ले के वक्त की माज़ीर ख्वातीन है। तो फिर उसमें भी कुछ ख्वातीन ने अपने घर दिए, कुछ हमने थोड़े सी ख्वातीन को कोई 10-12 को पिंडी शिफ्ट कर सके, जिनके लिए अभी हम और भी बंदोबस्त कर लें। जो ख्वातीन पढ़ना चाह रही थी वो यूनिवर्सिटी वाली फारग हो गई, वही मसला, बिजली यहाँ नहीं है, नेट नहीं। तो फिर जो दोस्तें हैं या छोटी लड़कियां हमारी जान पहचान में थी, तो वो अपने लैपटॉप में फिर वो चीज़ें सेव करके, वही बात है लैपटॉप फॉर हिलटॉप, तो उनके लिए कोई कोई काम उनको जाके दे आए या उनके साथ 2-4 घंटे बैटरी फुल करके उनकी हेल्प की। तो इसी तरह ख्वातीन के घरों में फिर हमने राशन, जो एमरजेंसी सूरत हाल थी, फिर वहाँ किसी जगह राशन भिजवाया, किसी जगह इजी पैसा नहीं था, लोग जाके घरों में दूर दूर पैसे दे के आए। बड़ी मुश्किल सूरत हाल थी, लेकिन मैं ज़्यादा तकलीफ़ों के बजाय ये शेयर करना ज़रूरी समझूंगी कि कैसे कैसे हमने हल किया। तो कुछ थोड़ी थोड़ी ज़मीनों वाली जो इनके पास थी, कोई 1 कनाल 2 कनाल मतलब आधा कनाल ज़मीन, तो वो उन्होंने अपनी पड़ोसियों को दे दी जो बेवा ख्वातीन थी, ताकि सब्जियां लगाए और इस मुश्किल वक्त में वो बेच सके। तो ये हमने एक एग्री क्लब बनाया है वुमेन्स का, जो बेवा हो गई थी जवानी में। ये बहुत ज़बरदस्त काम किया है कि सरसे में ट्रेनिंग करवा के उनको कुछ बीज दिलवाए। तो ये 140 ख्वातीन जो इंतहाई वर्नरेबल, जिनके बच्चे 8-9 साल से ऊपर बड़ा कोई नहीं और बिल्कुल वो खुद भी नौजवान, तो उनके वो, ताकि उनकी सब्जियां शब्जियां घर की पैदा हों, कुछ को मुर्गियां शुर्गियां दिलवाई इधर उधर से करके, ये बेसिक सी चीज़ कुछ हम स्ट्रक्चर खड़ा कर सकें। क्योंकि फंडिंग तो आपको पता है आजकल किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के पास भी नहीं है, लेकिन हमने सोच के जो हमारा फर्ज बनता था उसमें
बहुत ग्रेट काम कर रही हैं नजमा जी। और जिन दोस्तों ने हमें अभी ज्वाइन किया है, those people who had just joined us, you can share your introduction in the chat box, and you can also share about what you are doing and how you are, coping all these challenges. We are into the panel conversation about, and our second question that is going on is about how the community is facing the challenge and your own, interventions or solutions that you are providing them. Jubilee, I would like to ask you about the solution that your organization or you yourself is providing to the community that is facing the challenge of COVID-19, especially related to your work and your approach and your network.
Thank
Jubilee?
you, Farhat. As many of our friends discussed that in our country, 48.48% percentage of makeup of population women, and women are facing, it's a health emergency, but it impact on socio-economic and political side as well. And most of the women are work affiliated with the informal sector. And as we are implementing in our organization a project for women workers, where we conducted research from women workers from all over the Pakistan. It reveals that almost 26%, it conducted in February in 2020 during pandemic. So almost 26% of women, from 1,000 sample data, almost 26% of women were terminated from their work. So this is one of the big challenge, because mostly women in rural areas are working in agriculture sector, informal sector, and social and health workforce. So they are affected at larger level. The second thing is as children are at school and children's schools are shut down due to pandemic, and the role of women is obviously overburden her work, and she's we are managing in office work and then family court. Then they are primarily caregivers for those patients who are affected in pandemic. So women are more prone to these diseases. And thirdly, in our communities, we assess that mostly women have no access to internet and mobile. So all the campaigns running by government or WHO for prevention, awareness raising, or relief program related messages are not reaching to those deserving women. And as I stated in my earlier communication, that 12.48 million women have not registered for NIC, National Identity Card, which is the basic requirement for relief program, which is introduced by government for a SAS program. Like first criteria is you have to be registered with National Identity Card. If 12.48 million are already excluding from that relief program, this is the one of the biggest challenge. And the other thing, my organization and mostly women issues are not highlighting in media. If we are, my organization is doing media monitoring. We are monitoring print media, social media, and electronic media. We found that rarely women issues were discussed in like the national committees. Yes. One of the important thing is as government started, they formed a national NCOC committee and national coordination committee to address these pandemic issues, but there is no women representation in those committees. The women are not in decision making. So that's why their issues genuine, like prenatal and postnatal facilities and family planning issues are disconnected. It's because lady health workers are traditional birth attendants are providing these services in local areas. As you know, there are no hospital to facilitate them, but no one is highlighting those issues. When government announced to shut down all OPDs, hospital services, no one was talking about who will facilitate those pregnant women if they want to visit hospitals. And BHU, basic health units and all that, even in my area, in local area, there are many women, mortality rate is high, but no one is discussing about those impacts, prenatal and postnatal issues. And women are mostly microfinance and microcredit beneficiaries who have taken amount from the organization for livestock and other small businesses, but they have to pay and they will be charged penalties by those organizations, and there is no activity at this time. So no one is highlighting this such things. And one of the crucial thing is our local government system is dysfunctional in all 4 provinces this time. Unluckily, local government system is the lower tier of governance structure, as you know, and lower tier of governance structure is dysfunctional. It's mean service delivery system is totally affected in those areas, and humanitarian assistance organizations are also not working in local level. So these communities are really vulnerable, they are voiceless, and their genuine issues are not highlighting at national level and all other platforms. So what my organization did in this regard, first thing, we are conducting household level socio-economic survey. We have designed community survey. We are trying to map the socio-economic impacts on women, specifically women, all over communities, but women, what health impact, psychological impact, economic impact, and other impacts they are facing. And it will be almost completed in this week. Hopefully we will launch our survey. Second thing, we have formed 20 counselors network group in all over Pakistan. We are contacting with former counselors. We are thinking they are the best resource to reach these beneficiaries, because accessing to our beneficiaries, especially as I discussed, we are working in those areas where women gender voter ratio is high. So accessing to those women is very challenging. So we think those counselors are in contact with women in their constituencies. They are very influential. So we are spreading those messages, awareness campaign messages and relief messages through these counselors. And we are strengthening women leadership role by strengthening those women counselors. So almost more than 300 women counselors are organized, grouped and capacitated to work in their areas. And the third thing, we have formed Hum Mustaqbil, we have launched Hum Mustaqbil program for young women leaders, fresh graduates who are inducted for 6 months and 5 batches. We will train them. They are monitoring it. They are engaged in media monitoring, and we are providing the employment. It's a paid internship, and they will be engaged in campaign on social media platforms, plus in other research, media monitoring research. So these things are doing, Farhat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jubilee, for the wonderful work. This is also important to have an input from media, especially, which is, you know, stereotypical, not giving the women and their amazing work that we do. We do not give much of the insight as well. And thank you, Jubilee, for the wonderful work that you are doing. I would like to request now Huma Fooladi. Huma, what are the community challenges that you've been facing? You have already shared with us, but you know, we are moving towards our end of the conversation as we are looking for the solutions, especially in these entire challenging times that we are having right now, and especially from province like Quetta. From province like, Balochistan.
Balochistan, okay.
I'm just mixing
thank
things.
You.
Yeah, thank you.
Really sorry for the interruption due to
no, it's okay. I can understand about
services.
The internet issues. Yes.
Yeah, and
yes.
It's very slow. It's disconnecting again and again, so can't continue with the first question. So in connection with your second question, our most of the issues and challenges are same as I heard the women from all over Pakistan. So very shortly, one of the, and sorry if I start video again, I'm afraid it may disconnect again.
It's okay.
So I'm
Please
not
share
starting
your
this,
voice.
right?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
One of the major challenges which I feel is also lack of awareness regarding COVID-19. The women who call for free legal aid service, most of them emphasize that we want to meet face to face. We do not feel comfortable on phone to share our issues. And when I when I guide them that is due to Corona, we just freeze our few of the activities. We are not meeting people. We can convince on call. I will connect you to the lawyer. Do you know what they say? Oh, really? You still take it serious? Do you think Corona is a real thing? So it is due to, despite the death ratio, still there are a few women, especially rural women, suffer double in this situation. So what is the reason? The reason is there's no emergency service in Balochistan. There's no helpline. Besides, and one more thing, besides domestic violence, issue of cyber harassment is also as peak. Like many people, they do not consider domestic violence as a violence. Similarly, there are many who don't know that cyber harassment is also a harassment. So we aware them via social media, on phone calls, that they should report. So the solution is, nowadays I talk to Women Development Department, to UN, I think UN Women also, yeah, we had a meeting with them. I'm emphasizing for a helpline. So I got no response. So for that, I'm designing a program and to provide them emergency service. A while before, I just received a call, a woman needs an emergency shelter, and it's not easy to reach out to government shelters. Even a woman is educated or uneducated, the process is so much complicated. First, they have to go to the court procedures. After that, they would be able to reach there. For that, they need lawyers. So I'm working also to support them in, because few years before, I provide them shelter in my home, but it's not easy easy, because a woman who leave their home due to some reasons, they face psychological and psychiatric problems. For that, they need a complete system. So I'm working for shelter and also for a helpline to provide them urgent services. And many other issues and challenges were, I think, it's all the women shared. We have similar, like another, same like other provinces of Pakistan. Thank you for her.
Thank you, Huma, for raising important issues, especially from your region. I mean, there are a lot of other challenges, and this COVID has, put a lot of, more struggle. You have to struggle more for, your rights and your many other things. Gohar, Zainab Gohar, Zainab, can you hear us?
Yes.
Zainab? Yes, Zainab. Thank you for
Am I
joining us,
audible?
Zainab. Yes, you are audible, Zainab. Thank you for joining us, Zainab. Especially Zainab is from Balochistan, and she's from the minority community, but she's working very hard. Zainab, my question from you would also be, first share your introduction, and of course, and then you can also share about your challenges and the work that you're doing, how you're helping your community. Please share with us.
Okay. Thank you so much, Farhad, for this opportunity, and my apology for joining late. Addressing to your first question, that what are the challenges that my community is facing? I am from Hazara community of Quetta, Balochistan. And I would second Ms. Huma Fuladi for her statements. Yes, I am now currently working in Karachi. But as the situation here in Karachi was not good and we were in lockdown, so I decided to move back to Quetta. And there I stayed for 2 months. And what change I felt there was that people are in disbelief. They reject this the coronavirus. They say it doesn't exist. And there needs to be done a lot to convince people to take care of themselves, including everyone, like my family, neighbors, and the community, and also the other people from different communities. So yes, this is an issue. People there, they don't believe, and they're not following SOPs. And the other thing which I think is a problem is that why people are in disbelief, they are in denial, is that in the beginning when COVID-19, it came here, a lot of people from my community, they were traveling to Iran and they were also traveling to Iraq for religious purposes. So when they came, the treatment from the government and from the rest of the people in Pakistan, it was not really welcomed. And those people who were traveling, they were neglected, they were isolated, and they were blamed to bring the virus within the country. So a kind of, in the beginning, we had racial profiling, like the Shias, they are responsible to bring the virus in the country, they're responsible for this. So a lot happened. And the travelers who came from Iran and Iraq, they were kept in isolation wards thrice. It means that for 28 days, around 1 month, they were kept in isolation centers, and there they had a lot of needs and challenges. So they suffered a lot. Anyhow, after they came back into the community, they shared their experiences with other people. And then they said, well, you guys were not deserving to be isolated and kept away from your families. So a lot happened, like from the beginning till now, people are in denial. They reject this concept and they are doing whatever they want. Secondly, my community is bound. It's located in an area, Hazara Town, and then Mariabad, Alamdar Road. So they were already in isolation, and which then increased the problems. I think this isolation from many years, from decades, has kept us separated from the rest of the community, due to which extremism, it rose. And COVID-19, it further increased the rate of extremism. And suddenly, just recently, hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
I thought you're muted. Yeah.
Okay, no,
Go
I
ahead.
just, Okay. So there an incident occurred. It was mob lynching within the community, and that um, were depressed. So this depression is really increasing. I was there, I could sense, I could feel the air thickened with hatred, with violence, and a lot of other things. So it was hard for me to survive there. So I came back here in Karachi, and now I'm thinking, what can I do to, maintain peace there? So I tried to start a campaign to maintain peace there. And a lot of things happened there as the rate of domestic violence against women, it was also increased. And, a lot of people, they blamed women and they threatened women that if they go out of the safe boundary to the market, so acid will be thrown on the face of women. This thing really depressed me, and I was so shattered, and an action had to be done. So I contacted a lot of activists there who are working on digital rights, on cyber harassment. So finally, anyhow, we found the person who were spreading rumors and who were spreading hatred in Quetta. And that person is caught, but still there is fear that, anyone might be motivated to do the act of actually throwing acid. So still we are working for digital rights of women there, how to report cases online. And another thing that we are doing, and which is of high priority for us there, is to reduce depression, to talk to people and give them some counseling time, because I think it's the most efficient way to reduce the rate of violence and depression, because mentally and physically wellness is the key to beat coronavirus or any other problem. So for this, we are organizing online yoga sessions with the youth and with women who really want to come and take care of themselves, practice some self-love practices. So these are the things which we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Zainab. Thank you, Zainab, for sharing the insight, especially the young people who are facing the challenges at education level, skills level. There's a lot of uncertainty is going on, and a lot of vibes are coming from the conversation that we are having as well. Rabia Nasir Mahmood, who is looking after, is an entrepreneur as well. Rabia, my question from you as well is that you can also share your introduction and of course share that what are the personal and your organizational challenge that you're facing. आप उर्दू में भी बात कर सकती हैं, conversation आराम से, if you feel comfortable, आप बता सकती हैं कि क्या challenges especially young लोगों को जो है आप जैसे लोगों को face करने पड़ रहे हैं. Rabia, can you hear us? Rabia? Hi, Rabia. I guess there's an issue of, that one of the biggest challenge I think is that, as leaders or as women leaders who are, in the conversation right now we are having, one of the issue is how to communicate, how to, best use, access to the information and access to the internet, in fact. My last round of question would be that since we are, this conversation is quite gloomy, but there's always a hope, as Michelle and I was discussing this morning, at the beginning of the session, that, there's always a silver lining to whatever happened in your life, or a challenge that comes, there is always a silver lining. Me and Ifat used to have long walks there in the Korean. We used to discuss that how it's important for us to have challenge in life that gives you an opportunity, sitting down together, as Myra was sharing. There's a lot of people who are in the room. They can, relate with Najma, who is working at the grassroots, and we can also, build synergies around. So my last request to everyone of the panel is that, you can share 3 important steps that we all need to take as women leaders in our communities, that we can build, our community is resilient for tomorrow. So, for example, if I can ask, Myra, Najma ji, everybody on the floor, to share these three important, what you say, a lesson? I don't know, it should be a lesson, but, three strategies or three suggestions or three solutions that we all need to take to move ahead and navigate through our own leadership styles, and or we can share our assets. As we in ABCD we always say that you have an asset, you build that asset, right? आपके पास एक खजाना है आपकी कम्युनिटी और आप उस खजाने को build करते हैं. तो आप उस you can share that what are the assets that you have, and you can build those assets, and how can we all help you? We can also do that in this way as well. So Najma ji, first you can go ahead. आप बताइए.
अच्छा, मैं मुख्तसर से करके बताने की कोशिश करूंगी, लेकिन 3 प्रॉब्लम्स भी साथ साथ और बताती चलूं. चूंकि मैं बड़े एरिया के साथ काम कर रही हूँ, इसलिए मैंने कहा थोड़ा सा वो भी कुछ लोगों के लिए शायद ये अच्छा साबित हो. एक तो हमारा एक स्कूल था जो मुजफ्फराबाद के एरिया में हमने बनाया था, जो बच्चे ऑटिज्म का शिकार हैं. तो मेरे साथी सारे आप समझते होंगे वो बोल भी नहीं सकते और बच्चे वो नॉर्मल नहीं होते. तो हिडन पल रेमेडियल एकेडमी के नाम से हमने एक एकेडमी खोलने की कोशिश की थी कोई 2-3 साल पहले. 50 बच्चे हैं वहाँ. तो इस तरह है कि उनमें से जो बहुत ही अफसोसनाक सूरत हाल है कि बाज़ माओं के 2-2, 3-3 बच्चे ऐसे हैं, और वो सारे बच्चे इंतहाई गरीब फैमिली से तल्लक रखते हैं. इन बच्चों की चूँकि पढ़ाई 2 से 3 बच्चे होते हैं एक टीचर की क्लास में, तो बहुत महंगी होती है. लिहाजा पाकिस्तान में मुख्तलिफ जगहों इनकी बहुत बड़ी बड़ी फीसें हैं. तो हमने 6,000 रुपया फीस रखी थी. वो भी मुख्तलिफ लोगों से रिक्वेस्ट की थी कि एक एक बच्चा आप अगर अडाप्ट कर लें तो हम लोग इनको पढ़ा सकें. इस वक्त वो माएँ बहुत शदीद डिप्रेशन में आ गई, जो ये एक कोरोना वायरस आया और उसकी वजह से बेशक बीमारी उस ज़्यादा उतनी बड़े पैमाने पे नहीं फैली, लेकिन ज़ाहिर है उसकी सारी SOPs हैं, सारी चीज़ें, एकेडमी बंद हो गई है. वो घरों में वो जो थोड़ा थोड़ा पढ़ना लिखना सीख रहे थे वो भी घरों में. और फिर माओं के लिए आप सोचें कि गुर्बत भी इतनी ज़्यादा है और 2-2, 3-3 बच्चे हैं, तो उनके लिए हमने कोशिश की कि हमारी एक इंस्ट्रक्टर है, तो मैं अगर आपने कहा तो लिंक भी शेयर कर दूंगी. वो फ्री ऑफ कास्ट उनको योगा वगैरह, ब्रीदिंग वगैरह करवाती रहती हैं. जाके वहाँ भी उनकी माओं को इकट्ठा दूर दूर बिठा के तो ग्रुप की शक्ल में हमने ब्रीदिंग सेशन दिलवाए, ताकि वो खुद जितने प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उससे बाहर आएँ और अपने बच्चों को खुद सपोर्ट कर सकें. और तो हम कुछ कर नहीं सकते थे इस वक्त. तो दूसरा ये है कि हमारी एक बिल्कुल ये भी एक नई प्रॉब्लम है. इस एरिया में सादात की फैमिलीज हैं. सादात जो घराने हैं यहाँ, ये 30,000 घराना है तकरीबन जो मेरे पास रजिस्टर है. इनके अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह बड़े अच्छे ये लोग औरों की मदद किया करते थे, लेकिन इनमें ज़कात, खैरात, फितराना ये लोग इससे मुस्तफ़ीद नहीं होते, ये नहीं लेते आले रसूल होने के नाते. तो वो फैमिली उनमें से 40-45% इस प्रॉब्लम में आ गई. कोई टैक्सी ड्राइवर था, किसी की छोटी गाड़ी थी, कोई बाहर था, किस तरह. तो वो जो हुए तो वो लोग, उनको फाका तो मंजूर था, लेकिन वो ये सदकात वगैरह नहीं लेते थे. हमने भी रेस्क्यू करना था उनको, और ये भी एक मुश्किल, बहुत ही मुश्किल सूरत हाल थी कि किसी का सदका भी ना हो. और वो ऐसी फैमिलियाँ जो फाके तो रह सकती हैं लेकिन सदकात नहीं लेती. तो फिर हमने वहाँ उनके लिए भी एक एमरजेंसी सूरत हाल जिस तरह कॉल की अपनी दोस्तों को. और यहाँ की मैं बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ अपनी उन दोस्तों की, उन कम्युनिटी की, कि जिनके घर सिर्फ एक टाइम का अपना खाना था, लेकिन वो बाहर निकल आए और दूसरों के खाने का बंदोबस्त किया. और मैंने बिल्कुल ऐसे ही देखा कि फर्क एक टाइम का खाना सबने अपने लिए इतनी एक आटा, इतनी चीज़ें रख के बाकी उनके साथ शेयर की, और वो लोग इस मुश्किल से निकले. शायद मेरी बातें आपके
बहुत नजमा जी, बहुत जबरदस्त आप काम कर रहे हैं. आपकी
लीडरशिप,
बहुत जरूरी है.
ये लीडरशिप ही हो सकती है जिसके कहने पे लोग बाहर निकल सकते हैं. और आपके ट्रस्ट जब तक लोगों का बिल्ड नहीं होगा तो वो उस वक्त तक लोग नहीं इतने इस तरह नहीं निकलते.
बहुत शुक्रिया नजमा जी फॉर योर इनपुट एंड प्रेजेंस एट द पैनल. इफ़त, कुछ शेयर करेंगी एसेट्स क्या हैं आपकी कम्युनिटी की, और उनको कैसे हम बिल्ड कर सकते हैं, और आप वो जो एसेट्स हैं उनको किस तरह से बिल्ड وہ کیا سولوشنس ہیں جو کہ آپ اس وقت وہ کمیونٹی آپ کے ساتھ مل کے ان ایسٹس کو بلڈ کری ہے؟
Dekho, Farhad, just I think the most important, the first thing is confidence on yourself first, and then on your community. Yes, I can do it. We can do it. This is the first thing we all need to believe on this. The second thing is then you need to look around what is available, either human resources, either in cash, either in finances. As I mentioned that when we started Responses COVID, at that time, we don't have any donor. So what we did, we asked community to mobilize their internal resources. So they asked the people who were living abroad, they asked them for donations. They collected very small donations. So instead of buying from market, they started making their own fabric masks. They started making their own local sanitizers. And through that, they worked. They initially supported, facilitated the communities that they have. So in this way, when they build upon, then the other people also saw that, look, they're doing very good. They have started coming up. So they joined them and they gave them more. And then other organization then came in. And of course, then we have an example and we show to our organization that, look, if the people are working, we need to come ahead and we need to support them. And the third thing is, I think doing analysis and doing risk assessments, all this is right. Yes, this is the need of the time and we need to do these things. But we also need to understand that some, especially when we are saying that this is disaster, this is humanitarian things, that we don't have so much time just to spend on these things. So just start the things, do the things. Don't judge whether it's right or wrong. Start the thing, make it right.
Yes.
This is the key.
Thank you.
Just start the thing and make it right.
Yes, thank you. But yes, this is so important. Your message is so key. I think that wisdom is there. Mahira, your assets and how you're building it, and what are you doing, you know, in the future, and how you are building this. I know there's a lot of, I mean, biggest challenges that you're facing, but you know, it's a good opportunity that you can also share that what you see as asset in your community and how you want to build them, you know, further.
For me, young people, like gathering them and utilizing them is the biggest asset. Like, as you know that I have been working in my organization from last 5 or 6 years, and there are more than 80 volunteers working with us. So what we are doing right now, we are conducting online sessions, not with our direct beneficiaries, but with indirect beneficiaries who have access to smartphones, and those who don't have access to smartphones, we are contacting them through phone calls and text messages, and we are telling them the precautions for COVID-19. And then there is another thing, like we in this pandemic, we have to be kind to ourselves first, and so we might help others. So be kind to yourself, be kind to one another, help others, utilize resources. I mean, as you have seen my Facebook and my Twitter and my organization's profile, I am not asking people to donate, but people are coming forward, individuals are coming forward, and they are helping us, and they are giving us money, and they are trusting us. So that is an achievement, and I guess utilizing that resources on the people with needs is our responsibility, and we are doing that. We are doing our best to help them. So I guess we should include young people, and we should work with them, and we should utilize our resources by.
Thank you, Myra. Thank you so much, Myra, for this wonderful, you know, conversation. Jubilee, your last message, of course, and you know, because we are almost on the end of our conversation, your last message, and you know, what are the assets and how you want to contribute in this entire conversation? You know, the final solutions, you know.
Thank you, Farhad. First thing, as I discussed, media is a very powerful tool. So we should, media has the power to amplify the voices of women. So we should optimum utilization of traditional outlets and highlight the women stories and achievements and contributing. And this is the significant time to promote women leadership role and women challenges on media platforms. And the second thing, local people are very efficient to plan and execute their problem issues. So at this time we organize citizen groups. So government should optimally utilize these citizen-based group and local people for in terms of relief response and service delivery program. The third thing, citizens are missing their elected representatives. I guess they are in self-quarantine. They should come out, they should communicate, not come out in the field, but they should interact with their citizen. We should advocate for this, like all the leaders should communicate with their citizen. Otherwise the trust deficit will be more increased in this time as Pakistan is facing in democratic governance challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Jubilee, for the wonderful remarks. Huma, your input is required here, especially as we are just ending our conversation. And yes, Huma, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. As COVID has shown mirror to our lives, so there are many things to go with it. So particularly, I would go with study circles and would like to support local small businesses.
Thank you so much, Huma. Rabia, we missed you earlier. Rabia, you have to unmute yourself, and finally, you have 2 minutes to share whatever you like, because Rabia has been working as a company. She's running and she's working with the youth and youth empowerment. Of course, she's leading a group. It's called Leading Women. Rabia, share your insight here.
Okay. Firstly, I want to thank you so much to you that you bring me with your wonderful ladies. Yes.
Yes, you can go ahead in both, say Urdu or English, जैसे आपका जी चाहता है.
Okay, fine. So मैं थोड़ा सा एक यहाँ अगर sharing का option open है तो मैं सिर्फ एक वीडियो छोटी सी play करना चाहती हूँ.
नहीं, sorry, you are not able to share because हमारे पास time नहीं है और 2-3 लोग और हैं. बाद में कर लेंगे इसको.
चले सही है. मैं बस ये कहना चाहती हूँ. I just want to say that I just started the group. The platform, the Leading Women. I was working since last 2 years on on interviewing people and connecting to the other part of the world, and I have interviewed more than 1,000 people all around the world. So in this year, in April, I started a project called the Leading Women project, and its purpose is bringing all the ladies together. So it's my dream that one day my company, which is training and development company, one day it will be a unicorn. So I just share with other ladies which are in my group that one day come together and just support one another and collective dreaming that one day, whether we have a startup institution or whatever we have, one day we collectively achieve that level that we are able to solve a lot of problems. So this is like.
मुझे ये बताइए कि challenges अभी आपको क्या face कर रहे हैं आप COVID की वजह से और क्या
what I see, like I think that the challenges are the blessings. So I think this COVID situation gave us the opportunity to connect and to talk to in that way. Like मेरे ख्याल में ये आने वाले 10 सालों में ही होता, लेकिन अब ये हम सारे इकट्ठे हो गए हैं. तो चैलेंज जो मैं महसूस करती हूँ वो ये है कि हर किसी को चाहिए कि वो अपना विजन ब्रॉड करे. मुझे लगता है खातून की डेफिनेशन ये होनी चाहिए कि उसके पास विजन होना चाहिए, उसके पास करेज होना चाहिए और उसके पास पैशन होना चाहिए. विजन ये कि वो कुछ बड़ा देखे, करेज ये कि उसको परसू उसके पास जाए, उसके लिए इनिशिएटिव ले, और पैशन ये कि उसे हैपन, लाइक शी शुड मेक इट हैपन. सो लाइक yes, this is also the solution. Go for your dream and just make it happen.
And Rabia is using the digital forums and digital connectivity to, help people in the conversation. Your work is also phenomenal because in these times when you really need someone to talk to, Rabia is doing a lot of conversation around. Sadaf and Huma has done. Sadaf and Zainab, if I'm left with anybody, and then I'll give the floor to Shad for the final words. Sadaf, share the, final solutions and final message to all of us.
Right. So my final message would be that I have observed, you might have observed, everyone must have observed that countries like Denmark, Finland, New Zealand, Taiwan, Iceland, all of them are dealing with the COVID crisis very efficiently. And this is because of the women leadership there. And I think my message...
Including New Zealand, we have seen the dance of Prime Minister. Yes.
So I think women have dealt the crisis better than men. This is what we have seen throughout the globe. And this is because of the resilience, the trust building, and benevolence, the values of humility and empathy and collaboration. This is what women have. And this is what we all need to have in this time. And I hope we will get out of this crisis.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sadaf, for sharing the insight. Final word, Zainab. Zainab, open it.
Thank you
Yes.
so much, Fahad. I have shared in the chat box as well, and I see the future to be digital, and a lot of work needs to be done on digital literacy, especially the e-businesses, e-commerce, e-schools. So we need to work a lot on that. And regarding the extremism, I think we should create and conduct more sessions where people from every region, every religion, there should be an interfaith harmony sessions as well. And I really appreciate you for conducting this wonderful meeting, and hope to be part of it in the future as well. This is really wonderful. It's a good platform to network with people, and all we can use our resources within the network, within this meeting, to help each other out. So together, yes, we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gohar. Thanks to Michelle and her team for amazing conversation and letting us to be together from across Pakistan. Shad, my co-host, unmute yourself and your final words, and let's put some hopes there. Shad.
Thank you so much, Farhat, for giving me again the chance to speak to everyone. I like the positivity. No one actually expressed like they have some fears or they have like the challenges they cannot overcome. Like all these women, the stories they have shared, the resolute they have shared, the ideas even they have shared. There are so many takeaways from today's discussion. And I hope we will continue such discussions. So thank you everyone for sharing very openly, very wholeheartedly. See you soon all again. And Farhat, thank you so much for bringing us all together. And thanks to Fatma for noting down everything and facilitating us on the back.
Thank you so much, Fatma. Fatma is our harvester. Fatma is our note taker. Thank you, Fatma. Floor is yours for the final group picture. Let's do that, everybody. You need to open your videos and let's have a group photo together. Everyone, for a while. Yes, let's do that. I hope that you're all in. Wonderful. So there's a lot of people.
Yeah, see how we are learning, becoming.
Do you want to show your face for a while, for a minute?
No,
yes?
I'm so thankful for this liberty that this is, you have the choice to show or not to. But my face is there. Everyone can see me.
Oh yes, your face is there. So Sarooj is one. So thank you so much, everyone, for let me take the screenshots. Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
So guys,
yes, thank you.
Yes, so I'm actually very overwhelmed from everyone's story, their perceptions and their experiences. I think in a way it's very comforting to hear from everyone and just see so many beautiful faces from all over the world. So I was thinking of another idea, is another group picture right now, but we can, just to just uplift everything, I think we can at least maybe just put a thumbs up or something on the screen while we're at it. And I don't know if everyone saw, I did share the hashtags to be used when all of you will be, of course, posting about today's webinar. If in case nobody has seen it yet, let me know, so I'll paste it again. So let's just do a thumbs up so I can take a screenshot again.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Michelle, for supporting us, for having this important conversation. We'll be sharing with you a lot of, you can unmute your mic and you can also share, you can also talk. Yeah, we have 5 minutes to go.
I just want to say, as an Australian who was just in here listening, oh my goodness, thank you so much for sharing your stories. There's been some hard listening from somebody that lives in a a country that experience, and I live white privilege, even though I have Aboriginal background. Listen to the stories that you've all shared. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's wonderful. And I love the positivity, the fact that, what you all go through is challenging every day, but there's still that element of positivity. So well done, ladies.
And thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me, for joining the conversation. It's just not me. I would really like to, extend hands with all my, friends, sisters, my elders who are with the wisdom and sharing thoughts. It's important for us all to, help people like, for example, Myra or Najma ji or Ifat or Gohar or, Shad or Jubilee, thank you, and Huma and Sadaf and Rabia and Fatma and everybody who has joined us, just extend our hands and be positive in this, and I always say that, it's important that these challenging times are meant for something beautiful is going to happen. So yes, so let's stay positive and let's stay connected. Thank you, everyone, and stay safe, everyone. I hope, Michelle, we are just 3 minutes to go for 6,
you are
right?
beautifully on time for it. I know, you're wonderful timekeeper.
Yes. I don't know where the time went, It's amazing. Thank you. And
it was a quick 2 hours.
Yes, quick 2 hours. I don't know where it went. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.